Our beloved Redskins went to the Motor City today looking for a virtually unprecedented fifth victory in a row, and after great games against the Ravens and the Eagles, just could not sustain their good streak of play, bowing down to their bad history in Detroit, laying an egg, and losing to the Lions 20-17 after a dramatic Matt Stafford fourth quarter comeback. We'll talk about it next on the Hogsty.
Welcome to the Hogsty with your crew, Alex Zeese, Steve Thomas, and Robbie Duncan. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
And we're back on the Hogsty here on a defeat Sunday. I'm here with just Alex today. Alex, how are you?
I'm good. I missed the last two shows, and now to make up for that, we've got two guys missing, so we're even, I guess. Somehow.
That's right. Robbie, how are you today? Robbie's not here, so Robbie can't answer.
Right.
Sean
Robbie
is also out
of town with his girlfriend, and Sean is dying or something. I'm not really sure.
I hope Sean's not dying, but he might be dying. In some like esoteric way, we're all dying, so
well, yeah,
it's just a matter of whether the dying is being accelerated or not is the real question.
If you're reading too much Albert Camus, sure. Well, let's get to this game because Albert Camus would have loved this game.
We're stalling because neither one of us particularly want to talk about an ugly game.
No.
Yeah, it's. This is one of these, first of all, it's one of these games that we didn't foresee, but we probably should have, because the Redskins just don't do well against the Detroit Lions.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody remembers, back in, 2009, the Lions hadn't won a game in, 2 seasons, and who was their first victory against? It was us.
Right. After they went 0-19 or something like that.
Yeah, the Joe Barry defense-led Lions went 0-1,000,000, and they won against us. We always seem to play down to the Detroit Lions, and that seems to be what happened today. Alex, let's just talk general thoughts before we hit offense, defense. What are your general thoughts about the game?
Well, I have a lot of general thoughts. I was live tweeting, so most of my general thoughts got thrown out live, which is probably not a good thing in my case because I have some weird thoughts at times.
But never knowing what's going to go through your head.
Yeah. Let's just say it was tale of two halves. The first half, offensive miscues galore. We should have gone into the half up by 10 points. I mean, it's that simple. We had every opportunity to, and instead it was tied 3-3, and that really is kind of what led to a second half where it got put on the back of our defense in that final drive, and our defense does what our defense normally does in the Joe Barry era, and that is they gave up big yards and gave up a score when they needed to not. So
yeah, we went back to the You're right in that we should have had more points in the first half. We went back to the bad version of Matt Jones. Mm-hmm. His fumble there, the second fumble. The first one was in the exchange between Cousins and Jones, so blame whoever you want on that. I think it was probably some of both, quite honestly.
A lot of exchange issues if you really look at it, because Thompson, he tripped at one point, Cousins tripped at one point. A lot of exchange issues.
Well, and it looked like on the one, the Jones-Cousins exchange problem, I don't think Cousins really planted the ball deep into the gut of Jones, which is what you need to do. But Jones did not grab the ball well either, so I think it was probably more on Cousins, but neither one of them played that particularly well. But the second Jones fumble really hurt because obviously we were in the red zone, and he fumbles it straight into the end zone. It harkens back to like Stephen Davis against the Carolina Panthers 7 or 8 years ago, if you remember that play. He fumbled going into the end zone. It was kind of similar there. It really seemed like, kind of as a general thought, that after that happened, Jones really ended up in the Jay Gruden doghouse because we saw a ton of Chris Thompson this game.
Ton of R. Kelly.
Rob Kelly.
Yeah,
a ton of R. Kelly. Hopefully, Rob Kelly's a little bit more moral than R. Kelly because he's had his own little issues, which probably are not even, probably not even worth talking about even on a.
We should stick to let's stick to calling our guy Fat Rob. Fat Rob, he came to play.
Okay, there you go.
He got a touchdown catch.
He's not really that fat, though.
Yeah. Well, I think he's called that because he was a fullback in college. I think that's where it comes from. I don't know.
Yes, but anyway, as a general thought, it's I think they played down to the Detroit Lions to a certain extent. There's no reason why this offense should not have moved the ball quickly, easily, and a lot on a defense like the Detroit Lions. And Robbie warned us, and none of us listened. Robbie warned us that they had a good defensive line, because I thought for a good chunk of the game, their defensive line just owned our offensive line.
They did
in both pass rush and run blocking. Both. But the other side of it is defense. The defense did well in the first half, hold the Lions to only 3 points. But when the rubber comes, what's the old saying?
Rubber
when the
meets the road.
Yeah. At the end of the game, they just didn't come through.
Right.
They let the Lions march right down the field. So as a general thought, it's kind of a shame. We were due for a letdown at some point in time. Between playing a bunch of hard games in a row with the Eagles and the Ravens, and it just so happened to be against Detroit. So that was my general thought.
Yeah. One more general thought. I mean, like I said, I was the one live tweeting for us, and I said that I'm now back on the Fire Joe Barry bandwagon, and a guy named IJ, he started shit-talking me thinking I was you, Steve, and that was pretty funny, because he started shit-talking the whole Dodgers-Cubs series, because, you're an outspoken Dodgers fan on here.
Yes.
And,
yes, I am.
The Nationals got wiped out early, so I gave up caring right away, because that's what I do.
Hey, first of all, I'm the first one that's gonna, badmouth the Dodgers after what they've played. Our star pitcher didn't come through; he laid an egg. So, you're not gonna bother me if you're gonna badmouth the Dodgers, because they deserve every bad mouthing they get after the past, 4 days of games.
Well, but
that's pretty funny though.
The guy and I, we kind of made up. We all chalk it up to we're just angry over the loss. Redskins fans get angry. We're very passionate people, so it's cool.
We've had a lot of practice at these losses too.
You would think we'd accept it more, but we don't. IJ, it's cool.
I think this team,
cool. No hard feelings.
And yes, I'm still a jerk, and hey, I'm proud of that. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be a jerk.
Yeah,
on
I think you and I both embrace the fact that we are jerks at times more than the other guys.
Yeah. I don't think Robbie and Sean much like it when we're jerks.
No.
Are jerks.
No,
but that's okay. But you'd think we'd be used to it because this happened over and over again. But really, I think, I think the fan base is kind of lulled into a false sense of security over the past 4 weeks. Because we won games in a row, we got better every week.
Yeah.
Especially on both sides of the ball, but especially on defense. We had a complete game last week, and it was down to come crashing down to earth at some point because we're still the Redskins and still a rebuild. We're not a championship team here. It just so happened here. Let's talk stats on offense.
Go ahead.
Excuse me. We'll transition to offense here. Kirk Cousins was 30 of 39 for 301 yards. That's a 7.7 yards per attempt average, 1 touchdown, 2 sacks, rating of 106.9, which, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head, is his best rating of the year.
Right.
I'm not sure it was a great game, but statistically that's what it was. Chris Thompson, 12 carries, 73 yards, 6.1 yards per attempt. Matt Jones, 10 carries, all of 27 yards for 2.7 yards per attempt. For
Back
those
to
who
old
can't
Matt.
do math in your head.
Back to old Matt. That's what that tells me.
Kirk Cousins almost outgained Matt Jones on the ground with 3 carries and 19 yards. And Rob Kelly, Fat Rob, 4 carries, 15 yards. On the receiving end of the ball game, Jameson Crowder, 7 receptions, 108 yards, 15.4 yards per attempt, along with 26. Vernon Davis, 6 catches, 79 yards. Chris Thompson, 7 catches. Deshaun had 5 catches, 8 targets.
He had 5 catches?
5.
Wow.
He had 5 catches, 35 yards. Long of 12, 8 targets. Pierre, 2 catches, 22 yards. And then Niles Paul, Ryan Grant, Rob Kelly all had 1 yard per piece. So that is offensive stats. I guess the fact that the running game didn't work surprised me the most of this game because
a little bit.
And I guess you have to look at why. It's a little bit of a mystery. I guess Robbie's right about their defensive line.
I think it's their defensive line, but they were also kind of. I noticed 2 things Detroit was doing. They were stacking the box pretty heavily, right off the bat. going after the running back, going after Kirk early. And then they were playing their safeties deep to keep Deshaun from getting that big play. And if you look at, you said Kirk completed, 70-something% of his passes, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
But it was all the underneath stuff. It was all Chris Thompson and Crowder and Davis. It was 5 yards and then pick up some yak because they were covering everything deep.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he completed 77% of his passes.
Right.
Is what it works out to mathematically. He didn't go deep at all until the very end of the game.
Well, I think
not one time until the middle of the fourth quarter.
No, he had one incompletion to Garcon early that went deep, but it wasn't. It wasn't super deep. It wasn't a streak route. It was like one of those crossing routes, I think, where Garcon's like 25 yards deep. What Garcon does.
Yeah, and
Garcon.
Well. Yeah, Garcon ran that post. That was a 17-yard play. That was kind of a mid-range.
Yeah,
ball.
I guess.
It's kind of an average Kirk Cousins day, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
It's with the short passes, his numbers are going to look outstanding, and that's kind of what boosts the Kirk Cousins argument for the.
It's
Twitter
what he does
guys,
well. Don't get me wrong. That if you're saying what is Kirk Cousins' wheelhouse, that's his wheelhouse is the short
passes,
short passing. Yeah. Which there's nothing wrong with.
Of course, quite
that.
honestly, I think a lot of quarterbacks could do that. To be perfectly honest with you,
I would say
I don't think it's anywhere near a unique talent.
No, but I think he's got above average awareness as to where to put the ball, which not all. Like all the quarterbacks who are backups right now probably can't do that. Or very few could.
No.
So all the starters, yes.
I think Colt McCoy would be. He's proven he'd be good at it. I don't know if he'd be as good as Kirk, but that's why we're getting off track here. Yeah. So anyway, it was a typical Kirk Cousins day.
Mm-hmm.
I think his statistics make it look like a better game than it was. He didn't make any, soul-crushing mistakes. There were no really dumb interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
There were one or two passes in there that maybe should have been intercepted. He had a few bad passes in there. Yeah, I counted 4, but for me. My stats got a little cattywampus just because of stuff that was going around me today.
Sure.
But he did have a few bad passes.
I want to talk about
game was
2 bad passes, if we can, real quick. One, a bad pass that worked out great, and that was when he was falling backwards and chucked the ball to Thomas, who picked up 9 yards. That was a great little play. Not that should be a staple or anything, but that does show Kirk's awareness about what's supposed to be going on in the play. He knew Thomas would be there. That's a good thing. And then the other play, the near interception where Grant and Davis were in the same spot, and Grant was supposed to be doing, I don't know, something else. He was not supposed to be there, and Kirk nearly threw the pick. We are better off with Ryan Grant never seeing the field again, in my opinion, at this point.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's just what I was thinking. I mean, why Ryan Grant is on the field, I'll just never understand.
It's like going 10 on 11 on your voluntarily. Is that's how I kind of feel when Ryan Grant is out there. Beyond useless.
I think he must be like dating Jay Gruden's daughter or something.
Yeah.
Gruden
loves him. I don't understand why. Gruden loves him.
He's a good I remember I asked Robbie this, and Robbie said, well, he's probably a good practice player, and coaches like good practice players. I mean, I'll take his word for it.
Yeah.
Because Grant, he just, he doesn't have the physical tools.
He does not add any value when he goes out there. One of his best plays all season was getting held for 5 yards. So, and that was today. That was maybe one of his best plays. I'm done with Ryan Grant. I really had hoped that he would at least show enough where you could say he'll be our 4th receiver next year. But I don't even think he has that much in him. I'm ready to move
We had
on.
a Maurice Harris sighting. He didn't get any balls thrown, but he did get on the field.
Yeah. I saw his number 13 running, around and getting covered, but not much.
I'll tell you, I think the guy who needs a shot, and this is off topic too, but we've got nothing but time here.
Yeah.
Kendall Thompson, who's on the practice squad. Kendall Thompson is the guy that needs to get a shot at some point. I was impressed with him. I think he's got a really high football IQ. He was a college quarterback. He's got a good sense of the field. I think I would hope. I would like to see him get a shot at being on the active roster at some point coming up, just to see if he can play, during the regular season at this level.
Well, like I said,
because God knows.
we have probably 2-3 guys settled at wide receiver next year. We need to find that fourth guy. And it's...
Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, Jamison Crowder is our number one receiver.
Oh, yeah. I assume that. Jackson or Garcon will probably be back. Probably Jackson. There's your number 2. Doxson hopefully comes back healthy. He's your number 3. It's just who's that number 4 guy, And that's just me thinking down the road. I wonder about that stuff.
Well, yeah, and of course you said Doxson comes back healthy implies that he was here in the first place, which he really wasn't.
Right.
But let's just get something straight right now about Josh Doxson. I mean, we're all disappointed that he was out. We're all fearful of this weird Achilles injury because nobody can seem to pinpoint what it is.
And because we all have PTSD from Ryan Kelly. We all remember that.
A whole bunch of receivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Malcolm Kelly, if you go back to Malcolm Kelly, he was a high draft pick bust. Yeah, I mean, anyway, you guys on Twitter who are calling him a bust, just stop. Please, for the love of God, stop.
That's way too early.
A bust is not a guy who has an Achilles injury and can't play. Okay? If that goes on for another year and it's a couple years, okay, maybe so. But give him a shot to be healthy and on the field before you go busting him out. It's unfair to Doxson. It's unfair to the team.
Oh, yeah.
He's got the physical tools. He had the college production. There's no reason why he shouldn't come back and be a good player next year. So just for the love of God, stop.
Right.
It's ridiculous. It's no need to be that pessimistic about Josh Doxson.
Right.
Anyway, offensive-wise, I'd like to throw this at you and see what you think.
Go ahead.
Obviously Jordan Reed was out again with the concussion for the second week in a row. It's not a good thing that Jordan Reed is not on the field because he's a dangerous weapon, but I think the offense is a more wide open offense without him. The reason I say that is when Kirk doesn't have the security blanket, he really has to start looking all over the field. He spreads the ball around. Look at the targets. James Crowder 9 targets, Vernon Davis 6, Chris Thompson 7, Deshaun Jackson 8 targets. Pierre had 5 targets. If Jordan was in there, he'd have 10 targets.
Probably, and it would take away from Davis and Crowder a bit.
Yeah,
Kirk likes his underneath guys. I think there's no one doubts that he likes tight ends and he likes a slot back. Whoever's on the edges for Kirk. And as good as Garcon and Jackson are, they're kind of his second reads in how I think his mind and his arm kind of work together. And I don't necessarily know if that's how the plays are being called or if that's just he moves on from those outside guys quickly or what. But, yeah, it would take away from...
I don't think he naturally looks deep very often unless the play calls for the primary receiver to be the deep pattern.
Sure.
I just think that's really not. And after being around Jay Gruden's offense for 3 years now, and I'm not criticizing him for it. It's the offense, but I just don't think that Kirk looks downfield on a regular basis to be comfortable with that. In some respects, we're kind of wasting Deshaun Jackson.
I've felt that at times. I think any Redskins fan has. But yeah, I agree with you.
And that's why I wonder if Deshaun is going to move on. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'm with you that I think in a way when Reed's gone, we do look at other targets more, and that can be good. But at the same time, I think when Reed is in there, it makes it so guys like Deshaun do get open because I'm assuming Deshaun Jackson was just double covered deep a lot today. Judging by how things were played out. You can't always see how the safety coverage is watching on TV, because they don't
you have
cover
to
it.
see the all-22 for that.
Right. Yeah. But I'm assuming Jackson was covered a lot by the safety.
I would assume. Well, the other thing is, Jordan Reed is open a lot when Jordan Reed is on the field because we've yet to see anybody really in the entire time he's been here who can cover a healthy Jordan Reed.
Yeah.
On a regular basis. There's just not a linebacker out there. We've seen him burn corners. He burned corners early in the season for a couple of his touchdowns. And so it is. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying out there in listener land. I'm not saying we're better off without Jordan. I'm saying that I think Jordan's absence forces Kirk to look elsewhere and get a better sense of the field. So when Jordan comes back, maybe this will be a more complete team with him on there. Okay, well, so that's Jordan Reed. I think we could probably talk forever about Jordan Reed.
Yeah.
And that's kind of offense. Well, actually, I wanted to bring this up to you on offense, and then we'll finish up and move to defense.
Yeah.
With the let's call it 1.5 Matt Jones fumbles. I don't know who the team's going to blame. Right after that happened, we saw a ton of Chris Thompson and we saw a ton of Robert Kelly.
Right.
Now Gruden at his presser. I'm going to find the quote here.
Yeah. Now, while you're looking for that, let me just say, Chris Thompson, these coaches need to figure out whatever you need to do to make him into a number one back, try it. If he needs to add 20 pounds of mass, get him eating chicken fried steaks or something to get that 20 pounds, because we need him out there. And he gets onto that second level and has a burst that very few people can catch up with.
The problem is you add 20 pounds. If you add 20 pounds to a guy like that, he's not going to have that burst.
That's true. But
okay, here's the Gruden. This is Mike Jones from the Washington Post quoting Jay Gruden at the presser today. Mm-hmm. Two things. Number one, he says, Gruden said, he's our starting running back. I'm not going to give up on him. He was giving extra effort. But here's the one that really got my attention. Gruden on ball security with Jones. We addressed it last year. We can't keep addressing it.
Yeah. That kind of says it all.
Yeah.
I know there were quotes from guys like Grant Paulson and other reporters who were saying during the game, Gruden was on the sideline after those fumbles saying he needs to get that, and I'm not going to use the exact language, get the F out of there.
Yeah.
And yet they kept going back to him, which annoys me.
They did get him out, though, for a while.
Yeah, they did. But I would have kept him out the rest of the game myself. I would have rather seen Kelly and Thompson take the entire, rest of the game.
Well, I just think that I'm even more convinced now than ever that Matt Jones isn't a starting running back.
Yeah.
And there's a few listeners out there who questioned me after, last week's explosion. But and for those of you who asked that question, ask yourself this. If Robert Kelly had gotten all of Jones's carries last week, do you think Kelly would have done just as good or better than Jones, given what the offensive line did to the Eagles?
Yeah, our offensive line dominated that game versus this one, where they didn't. I don't think they looked terrible this game, but they struggled and they were getting hurt.
Yeah,
we know Brandon Sheriff went out for a while. Williams got hurt in the end. We still don't know exactly what happened to him. We know it's a knee injury of some kind. But,
I've got an update. We'll get to that in a second.
Anyway, yeah, I was all for giving Jones another shot this year, and I'm pretty much coming over to your side now. He's a number 2 guy. He won't probably be any more than a number 2 guy. It's time we.
Well, it's like when you have an elite running back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you have an elite running back, an elite, and you don't even need to be in it. When you have a good, solid starting running back, that running back can create yardage where yardage does not exist.
Right.
On a day when the offensive line wasn't at its best, wasn't opening mass. See, the thing last week is there were massive, huge running lanes, and Jones can hit those, and I'm glad he can.
Anybody should be
But
able
it's the
to.
days when there's not, it's on the days when there's not a lot of running room. Can the running back get 4 yards?
Mm-hmm.
Because if the running back can get 4 yards, generally we're going to be okay.
Right.
You're right?
Yeah.
And the example one is, we had a Matt Jones carry with a fullback out from the 1.
Mm-hmm.
At the goal line. Did he get in? No. We had to go to a pass to get the touchdown. I just think that Robert Kelly is an overall better back, and I don't know why. The reason Matt Jones is starting is he's a 3rd-round pick.
Right.
And who knows? I mean, we're not coaches. They know better than we are. I'm just telling you what I see with my unexpert eyes. I just don't understand. I just don't think Matt Jones is the answer. I don't think he should be a starter. I think Robert Kelly should be a starter.
I don't think Kelly.
So, I don't know.
Even if he were a starter, I don't know if he would be, a top running back in the league. I just think he's better than what we have, from what I see.
Exactly right. I don't think we know enough to know about whether Rob Kelly can be a top running back in the league.
And at the same time, I also can understand why you don't necessarily want to turn to an undrafted rookie. That isn't ideal for, if you're just saying, well, he's got the pedigree or anything. But at this point, I'm with you. Let's try something else because what we're doing ain't working. Matt Jones usually gave us
right.
1 or 2 good games last year. He's given us 1 good game this year. It doesn't merit all the faith.
It really doesn't.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about Lions offense, Redskins defense. Here's a few Lions stats. Matt Stafford was 18 of 29 for 266 yards, 9.2 yards per reception, 1 touchdown.
Most of that coming on the final drive, by the way, for Stafford.
True.
Yeah.
Rating of 103.5. Rushing, the Lions rushed for 19 carries, 94 yards. That's 4.9 yards per carry. Which is, bad. Zach Zenner had 9 carries, 29 yards, 3.2 yards per carry. So, he had his moments, but generally he was held in check. Marvin Jones, 4 carries, 94 yards. Golden Tate, 6 carries, 93 yards. I said carries. I meant receptions. Marvin Jones, 4 receptions, 94 yards. Golden Tate, 6 receptions, 93 yards. Bolden showed up, had a touchdown. Andre Roberts, our nemesis, the guy who did absolutely nothing for us forever, had 1 reception there. So that was a negative overall event, I'd say. On defense, Dante Whitner, who we signed off the street, was our leading tackler, 8 tackles, 4 solo. Will Compton, linebacker, 7 tackles, 5 solo. Mason Foster, 5 tackles. Ryan Kerrigan had a sack. Trent Murphy had a sack. I missed one. Preston Smith had a sack. So we got to Stafford fairly well. So that's defensive stats. Alex, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the thing that I'm really, the big story I think on our defense was losing Norman to a concussion, losing Breland to, I guess, was a leg issue of some kind. He didn't come back in. And suddenly we were down to our 3rd and 4th guys, 3rd, 4th, and 5th guys, which, by the way, for us isn't bad because, it's a former starter from Indianapolis. It's Dunbar, who I think we all agree, we kind of see him as someone who can project very well. And then our rookie, who everyone says was a first rounder, we got in the 3rd round. So they did okay coming in.
Fuller.
Yeah, Fuller. And they all do okay. But losing Norman and Breland, I think you can tell our defense played differently pretty quickly. They were playing off more.
Yeah.
Barry wasn't willing to gamble as much without them there. And I think...
Well, it needs to be pointed out that, number one, Norman, on the play he was injured on, and the update on Norman is he has been diagnosed with a concussion.
Right.
So he is officially in the concussion protocol, and so what that means is he's got to pass the eval of the team doctor, and then he goes to an independent neurologist, and that won't happen for a few days. So it's going to be basically a week, at the end of the week, before we know what Josh Norman's status is.
You have to think probably with us going to London, that means he won't be making the trip.
And unless he makes a lot of progress, I think, don't hold me to this, but I think that the team is traveling on Friday to London. I don't think they're going any earlier than that. So, it's possible, I guess, they send him on the plane to London, but I have to think you're probably right in that the odds are against it.
I don't remember who it was, but a friend
of
mine tweeted, apparently on those kind of flights, overseas flights, something like a concussion can really have a weird impact on you. And so don't call. It's just a friend of mine mentioning it, but
not a doctor.
Yeah, not a doctor, just a friend.
Okay. Anyway, I certainly think it's safe to say that the odds are against Josh Norman being on the field against the Bengals. But my point is that on the play got hurt on, he actually got beat deep on.
Yeah.
It wasn't horrible coverage, but I think it was Marvin Jones on that play. Marvin had a step on him.
Yeah.
He really did, and he didn't get burnt. It wasn't the
he was right there with them.
At the end of
but
at the end of the day, he gave up a 52-yard reception.
Right. But
it happens to the best of us.
He got took down in a weird way, man. It looked ugly, and he came down right on his head. And there was one angle where they showed it. I don't know. I know you said you're having issues watching it at one point, but there was one angle where they showed it, and you could kind of just see his eyes, and the lights kind of go off when his head hits the ground, which really had me freaked out.
I mean, I think about it. He's running full speed down the field, and then he tumbles and hits his head directly on artificial turf. It's got to be ugly. But point is, that was one of the worst plays Norman's let happen this year.
It is.
Injury notwithstanding.
Right. And he had no help, by the way, over the top, which always annoys me.
Now, I don't know where the safety was. We're going to have to look at the all-22 on it to figure out where the heck the safety was on that play. Don't know. But, Greg Toller has been something of a breath of fresh air. He's a pro.
Great depth. Signing.
Yeah. But all the same, we're kind of lucky that we weren't facing a team that doesn't have spectacular receivers. We're lucky this wasn't the Bengals.
Yeah.
You don't want Greg Toller and Quentin Dunbar guarding AJ Green.
No, you do
which
not.
might happen next week.
We don't know.
Unfortunately,
since we don't know what's happened to either of our starters, I'd feel much better with Breland on AJ Green than either of them. Obviously.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Obviously. So. So anyway, that is pass coverage. Stafford really didn't get it going until the second half, and like you said, the bulk of that yardage came in the last possession,
right?
Last couple drives. We hit the 52-yarder against Norman that was in the third quarter, I believe. Wasn't that third quarter?
Yeah, that was third quarter because that was the play where they got their first touchdown, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah. Correct. And anyway, and then most of that other yardage came when they matriculated the ball down the field rapidly and easily,
right?
On the Redskins defense and scored the game-winning touchdown. So that's pass defense. I'd like to point out that in terms of run game, the Lions really got away from it, which isn't a surprise. They spent a good bulk of the first half trying desperately to get the run game going.
Yeah.
And this is a case where the stats are going to look bad. It's going to look like another Redskins run game. They average 4.9 yards per carry. But I'd like to point out that the reason why that average is like that is because Matthew Stafford had a 18-yard scramble.
Right.
On a busted play. That's where the yardage came from. The truth of the matter is the running backs themselves, between Forsett and Zenner, Forsett had 8 carries, 33 yards, 4.1 yards average. Zach Zenner, is at 3.2 yards. So if you average that up together, it'd come out to something like 3.7, 3.8.
Right.
Which is sort of right what Detroit's done all year.
Right. And, so, which, by the way,
he did pretty well against the
still
run game.
Decent, yardage-wise for them, but by no means were they dominating. I mean...
Yeah.
We kind of got into a text off with Robbie about if you put this one on the defense at all. And I stand by, I do put this on the defense, this loss, partly at least. Because to me, it all comes down to that final drive, and you can't give up big play, and then they're in at least field goal range. And with a guy like Stafford, that means they're in scoring range.
I agree. I mean, Robbie's not here to defend himself, so next show we'll have to give him a chance to respond to this. On
I don't mean to pile on him when he's not here, but it just came.
Yeah, I mean, but that was Robbie. Robbie texted us and asked us to gave us some thoughts, and so we wanted to pass on Robbie's opinions on it. Robbie's opinion on it was that Matt Jones was the primary cause of the loss. That's his opinion. With the fumbles. So that was Robbie's opinion, and he'll expound on that. But I agree with you, Alex, in that, at the end of the day, it wasn't the offense that let the Lions drive down the field and score the winning touchdown.
Right.
It was on the defense.
Right.
They did it. That's not Matt Jones's fault. That's the defense's fault. So I do put the loss on the defense. It was a team loss. It wasn't a good game.
No.
Overall.
I mean,
but
who would you say played the best
the winning
offense or defense in this game? Because to me, I mean, if you're going to say it's got to be Crowder probably on offense, and then on defense, maybe Kerrigan. Yeah. I mean, no one really did anything, I feel like, on defense all game.
I mean, Kerrigan is kind of Ryan Kerrigan today. It was kind of a typical Kerrigan game. He has his moments, but then he goes long stretches and disappears.
Right.
And I think it's gotten worse. In the early days of the Kerrigan era, he was making plays. Remember, I think against the Giants as a rookie, he had that tip ball touchdown.
Yeah. He used to be able to do that a lot more. He would be in the right spots.
And he doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he doesn't do that anymore. And he's kind of become almost a dedicated pass rusher. You don't see Ryan Kerrigan making a lot of plays in the run defense anymore like he used to. I don't know why. We really need Robbie's input into that.
In fact,
we'll have to send a note to Robbie, ask him to look into it.
I would actually say there are times where you see Kerrigan when they're running at him, and he just goes right by the guy without even noticing it's a running play.
Yeah.
And it's just,
well, we see it.
Yeah, we see it, but he doesn't because of whatever reason. And I understand it's different when you're in the trenches. It's not as easy to say, "Oh, that guy's got the ball," but
No, I mean, who are we to, far be it from us to criticize Ryan Kerrigan, but yeah, I mean, there's been times this year when we've seen teams run dead at Ryan Kerrigan and they get good yardage.
Mm-hmm.
My point with Kerrigan is that his playmaking ability seems to have disappeared. He has his sack every once in a while.
I think
and that's kind of all it is.
He had
one sack
games.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he had one tackle, which was the sack, and that was it.
Right.
And I'm glad, it was a good sack. Glad we have it, but, I don't know if Ryan Kerrigan is living up to the $75 million contract.
No,
I don't know if we could. I'm wondering if we could find a guy off the street to get 8 to 10 sacks a year for a much cheaper price.
8 to 10 is. I mean, we say that like that's easy. That is not an easy thing to do in the NFL. There aren't that many.
Maybe I'm exaggerating, but
there are not that many 10-sack guys. You know what I mean?
No, but Ryan Kerrigan isn't a 10-sack guy on average either.
Yeah.
He's about an 8 to 10.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm just mad because we lost. But point is, I'm not sure the value for Kerrigan at $75 million total is. I'm not sure he's the best value in the world. Put it that way. I'm glad we signed him.
Right.
But
he's a good guy.
Because he's a guy.
Don't get me wrong.
Well, he's a guy. If the Redskins let him go, he'd be like having 15 sacks and being all pro. You just know that would have happened.
Oh yeah. If he was on a team that had good
Brian
defensive
Arakpo.
linemen around him and stuff, yes.
Yeah. Well, look at Brian Arakpo.
Right.
Arakpo's, has 7 sacks. Before today, he had 7 sacks. I don't know what he did today.
Yeah.
He's excelling. But anyway, be that as it may. So. I lost track of where we were on offense.
Just
defense,
we were on defense.
Yeah, I know we were on defense, but so that was the point. Is I think where this started was, we did pretty well against the Lions in the rush. Absent the Stafford runs, which is bull and play. And on the first Stafford scramble, where the heck were the linebackers? The guy, took off basically through the A gap,
right,
and ran. Almost 20 yards down the field, completely untouched, not one person around him. Where the heck were the outside linebackers or the inside linebackers? Rather?
Well, one of them was rushing the quarterback on the edge at that time, I believe. I think Compton was coming around, going against the left end or left tackle. Sorry, but I don't know where Foster was. It was definitely. It just
seemed like there was a gigantic open space.
There was.
Nobody there at all.
There was. And I don't know. Sometimes I really wonder about what Barry's schemes are in a given situation. Because I feel like Stafford shouldn't be getting that many rushing yards on us. But he does.
What was a busted play? Yeah, Matt Stafford is fairly athletic. He's not a runner, but he's not a Tom Brady statue either.
Right.
He's still a moderately young guy. I was just more concerned. I wasn't too upset at seeing him have 2 scrambles that went for a decent gain because it happens. I just want to know where the heck the underneath defense, the second level defense was when that happened.
Right.
Where were they? There was nobody around him whatsoever. Anyway, but we held Stafford in the passing game to pretty well too. I would throw some stats.
Yeah, you said
at
260 or something like that.
Yeah, but I was able to keep track of the quarter yardage for the most part. By the end of the first quarter, he was 5 for 9, 45 yards. At halftime, Stafford was 7 to 13 for 79 yards. The third quarter, this is an estimate because because again, logistically, it was a little tough, but he was somewhere in the neighborhood of 13, 14 carries, somewhere around 20 completions for something like 100. I counted 183 yards. It's at least in that neighborhood. So at halftime, that was a pretty bad game for Matt Stafford.
Yeah, I mean we kept him in check. We
did pretty well on him for a while.
Yeah, and then we lost our top corners, and things fell apart.
Exactly right.
Because this team is this defense especially is kind of all based on having very good guys in the secondary, and then just hoping the interior guys can do something. And when you go away from that, I don't really know what our plan B is. I don't think we have a plan B on defense.
No, we really don't. Yeah. On the red zone, I counted red zone efficiency this week. I think we had 5 trips to the red zone, 1 TD, which was the brilliant Kirk Cousins, fake handoff, roll out by himself, and scramble in 19 yards for a touchdown.
Well, no. We had
it was an option.
Spiderwide banana to Fat Rob, the passing touchdown.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. That was a spider.
There you go. So
Mark Bullock points out that was the classic spider Y banana play that the Grunes love.
It was the Y2, yeah. And so that is 2 touchdowns for, I believe, 5 attempts
Something
in the red
like
zone.
That, yeah. 1 missed field goal.
Yeah, again, that was kind of...
Yeah.
It was all I could do to keep track of that. So, but point is, it was not as efficient a game as it has been for the past couple weeks.
Yeah, well, it was not. I mean, I think we said it in the beginning. It was a sloppy first half. Like, it was arguably the sloppiest first half this offense has had. And the offense, maybe with the exclusion of Cousins. Cousins is the only one who I would say played decently in the first half. You know?
Yeah, he was okay. At halftime, Cousins was 13 for 18, 140 yards. So that's certainly more than acceptable. It's efficient.
Yeah.
It's decent yardage. Run at the half running wise, we were 15 carries, 62 yards. So that's a tad over 4 yards per carry. So did okay. You want to talk injury?
Yeah. You said you got the injury news or the latest?
A little bit, yeah. We already said that Josh Norman is out with a concussion. He's in concussion protocol. But the other big one is Trent Williams. According to Jay Gruden at his press conference, Trent has a sprained knee, MRI Monday. Now, Trent told the press that he hyperextended it. So, I mean, so we'll just have to, that was what Trent said.
Yeah.
So I think we'll have to know more by Monday. But a sprained knee could be anything from it's minor, nothing to he's out for weeks.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, Trent's a tough guy.
If it's an MRI, then hopefully it's just a sprain and nothing MCL-ish, which, who knows?
Well, MRI, they're going to MRI everything.
Right. I mean, I don't want to cause a panic and say that, it is something like that, but you never know. I worry about Trent and knees. Anytime I hear knee and Trent Williams, I worry.
Well, as somebody who's paid attention to the injury report, for 2 years, seasons now,
right?
I think Trent has been on all of them.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd have to go back and check, but I'd be willing to bet a reasonable amount of money that Trent has been on either all or most of the injury reports for the past 2 seasons. So this is a guy who just has a chronic knee.
Yeah.
It's just all there is to it.
Yeah.
It was his left knee, by the way, is the one that's the issue. So we will know more tomorrow. But it certainly doesn't look good. And there's video out here that this is courtesy of CSN Redskins, which is our friend Rich Tandler. There's video of Trent limping heavily and getting help being taken into the locker room. So it really honestly doesn't look good for Trent. I'd almost kind of say let's just play Ty next week and let Trent get help.
And it's a shame Robbie's not here. The one thing that I'll say is good about this team, we have good depth on the offensive line, thank goodness. With Ty and with Ari Kwanjo. So, at least we have good backup.
Okay, so that's Trent Williams. We'll have to see on him. On Brandon Scherf, it looks like Scherf's going to be okay. He went out. He came back in. I think it's a shoulder, but Scherf himself said looks like he's probably going to be fine, so that's good. Breland, our friend Master Fashion from the Post has an update on him. He said Breland had previously hurt right ankle, tweaked his left ankle in this game, but he came back in. So I think it looks like Breland will probably be okay as well. So the big two are 2 All-Pros in Norman and Trent Williams. So we'll have to see on those. So it was a pretty bad game injury-wise. So unless we have anything else, do we want to do game balls? Is it worthwhile? I don't know if it is.
I mean, I kind of muttered out, my only game ball really was Crowder earlier. I don't know if you have anybody.
No, my game ball would go to Crowder too.
Yeah.
So there you go. Crowder you get the game ball. Congratulations.
Yes.
So that's it. Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, we've had some technical issues recording today, which is kind of indicative of how the Redskins played on the field. So that's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
So I would say let's just kind of wrap this up and get ready for next week in jolly old England.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, and then I think we can announce this for the listeners. Well, first of all, the Sean's Crazy Neighbor story winner is going to have to wait till Tuesday since Sean wasn't here.
Sean
promise we're going to
like
announce
we said,
that.
he's out sick.
Yeah, the on the game preview episode, we promise we'll announce that. But we can also, I think, announce that we're going to have a great guest on in 2 weeks, who is the co-author of Pedro Taylor's Sean Taylor book, Steve Rosenberg. He's going to come on to talk about the book and talk about the life of Sean Taylor. So I'm really looking forward to that. That will be on the bye-week show.
Are you done with the book yet? I'm about halfway through it. It's pretty good.
No, I'm not yet. No, I haven't finished it yet.
I'm about to where he's getting into college, which, it's a pretty, it's got a lot of good little behind-the-scenes stories of Sean Taylor's, like, childhood, which I think if you are a Redskins fan, it's definitely worth your time reading.
I can't wait to talk to the guy. It's going to be a lot of fun hearing about all that. So anyway, that's just something to look forward to for you guys. So that's it for today. We will wrap it up there, and we will see you guys this coming week for the Bengals London game preview. See you later.
Bye.